Everybody, see y'all coming in the group. Got a lot of people in here already.
Love it. Love it.
Everybody's early. Everybody, I see y'all saying hello already, but everybody give a shout out where you're from. Barbara, I know you're in Washington. Hey, Barbara, I tagged you in the group and Wholesaling Partners with Ryan in the state group. Connect with Ryan. He's got a RIA meeting out there in Washington State in the Seattle area. So connect with him. All right.
Love Longview, Washington.
Got my Chicago guy in the house. All right, everybody.
You know what I love about this? I love that, we can connect with people, with anybody pretty much all over the United States virtually right here in one spot. Just the power of that, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Perfect segue into virtual wholesaling. But yeah, no, it's amazing that we can do that.
You know, it's crazy. And I say this all the time. I've got a couple buddies over that live in Australia, right down by Melbourne. Mm-hmm. And we talk on, Facebook, voice, messenger, and all that stuff just about every night. Right. And it's amazing how instantaneous it is. Right. They're on the other side of the planet and there's no lag. Right there. You remember with like reporters, like correspondents, how they used to talk and then they'd have to wait for each other to respond. I mean, it's instant on the other side of the planet. It's
amazing.
My mind. Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Tulsa in the house. Hey, everybody. We got some good stuff on deck today. Chris is going to dive into some great stuff. Actually, some stuff we talked about last night on the community call about really what you should focus on, right? Where to put your focus so you're not all over the board. And so we're going to give you some great information. If anybody's on here that hasn't joined already, make sure to get into the Wholesaling Partners community. Still free to join right now for another, I think we've got about 145 free spots still available. So if you're not in there already, hop in to Wholesaling Partners. My man Chris here is actually the Florida ambassador for Wholesaling Partners. So,
yep, looking forward to get rocking and rolling here. We're seeing people come in. We'll get going here in a second. Dave, just let me know when you're ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah, man. Let's. We've got just about 30 people in here, so let's go ahead and do it. Right.
Love it.
Going.
Love it. Well, Dave, thanks for having me here today. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here again with your audience. We had a blast the last time, and we went over a lot of ways that you guys can, a big way that you guys can make money in real estate and protect yourself, especially if you're going to be working with other wholesalers. But today, guys, by popular demand, a lot of people are really interested in virtual wholesaling. As you guys may or may not know, that's my thing. I'll give you a quick backstory of myself. I've been wholesaling houses for the last 10 years, a little bit longer than that. I've left my corporate job over 7 years ago and haven't looked back since. Wholesaling real estate is my full-time gig. We've scaled our business to over 7 figures, and I've done over 600 deals. And 5 or 6 years ago, we made the switch to 100% virtual. So wholesaling houses from home anywhere in the country. And again, we haven't looked back, and we even do this virtually in our own market. So even in the city that I live, we still wholesale houses from home in those areas too. So we are 100% virtual. And this is something that I wish that I would have had back when I was in corporate America working my 9 to 5, because you can be really efficient when you're wholesaling houses from home and you're not limited by location. See, back then I was working 60, 70 hours a week. And it was crazy. I had to rush home and then drive to sellers' houses back and forth, only to find out that they're not there. They promise you they're going to be there. They're not. And then, I do the drive of shame home, being like, dang, man, I wasted more time. And I just got to a point where I was like, this is just insane. This is wasting so much time. What if we could do this over the phone and never have to drive these houses? I have really bad allergies too. So going to some of these nasty houses was just terrible for me. It would mess me up for like 3 days. So that's another reason we did it. But, if you could I want you guys to imagine for a moment, right? Picture in your mind, right? Being able to not have to drive back and forth to properties, right? And then taking that time that you kind of waste doing that, right? And then reinvesting that to calling sellers over the phone. Like, how many more sellers do you guys think you'd reach? How many more deals do you think you would do? A lot more, right? And that was the key for us starting to grow our business and get beyond just a couple of deals a month. Some of you listening here are maybe at your first deal, right? Or trying to get to your first deal. Virtual wholesaling is by far the best way for you to get started, right? And I'll explain that here in a minute. And then the second thing is, if you're looking to get your next deal, right? Virtual wholesaling can make it easier for you to do that because, again, you can take time that you would normally spend driving back to houses and meeting buyers of properties and stuff like that, and you could replace that with making calls over the phone and connecting directly with sellers. Deanna asked, do you need an LLC in each state you wholesale in? We had some group experts here chime in. No, you don't. That is the 100% accurate answer. So nice work, guys. So today, guys, I want to share with you guys about virtual wholesaling, right? And if some of you guys are listening here, I'm assuming you know what wholesaling is because you know who Dave is here and you're a part of Wholesaling Partners and all that. But just to give you an idea of what it is, if you haven't heard if you're brand new, right? Wholesaling works like this. Let's say you have a seller that is motivated to sell their home because they have some motivation. Maybe they're getting older. Maybe their health isn't the best. Repairs are kind of stacking up at the property, right? And they got to sell because they can't keep up the repairs of the property. They're getting older. And again, it's just become too much of a headache. So they really just want to do a quick cash sale, right? So what they do is they get in contact with someone like us, or we contact them, right? And we say, hey, based on your house and the condition of your house, how much you're hoping to get for your house. They'll say, I'm looking to get $60,000. So we'll agree on a price of $60,000, right? Then what we do is we know we have a buyer in that area for around $80,000. So what we do is we put a contract in place with the seller, put a contract in place with the buyer. And when we close the transaction, right, with a third-party company called a title company, some states use an attorney, and all they do is transfer ownership from the seller to the buyer you brought to the table. At that point, you make the difference between the 60 and the 80,000. So that 20K is what you clear at closing. So this is a very exciting strategy. And the great thing is, again, you can wholesale houses from home anywhere in the country, and you can do this multiple times a month. So when I was first showed this strategy, it was like a no-brainer to me. I was like, this is amazing. I never owned the house at all. I don't have to swing a hammer. I really don't know how to do that. And I can just do this over and over and over again, right? So this is the reason why I stuck with this. And I find that wholesaling is by far the best strategy to get into real estate. And there's a lot of people that think, oh, maybe flipping is the best way, or buying rentals and stuff like that when you're first getting started. Nope, not at all. And the reason for that is because wholesaling allows you to learn what the market wants, what's a good deal, what's not a good deal. And it prepares you to make better buying decisions when you actually are ready to buy stuff for the long term, right? And I still firmly believe that rehabbing houses and flipping is just terrible. I've done it a lot. And I will tell you, you can make the same, as much, if not more money wholesaling houses than you can flipping, right? Anybody telling you that is probably a flipper. That says if they say you can't do that, right? So that being the case, what I'd like to get in today is I'd like to get into the 2024 marketing plan. We're in the third month of the year, beginning of the third month, so not quite out of the first quarter yet. And if you're just getting started in wholesaling and you're looking to get started in virtual wholesaling and do this from home anywhere in the country, I want to give you guys a clear plan that you can follow so you can leave this call today and be like, okay, I know exactly what my next step is. See, I find that a lot of people, when they first get started, they're like, oh, I'm going to do wholesaling, sub 2, sub 3, whatever, all these different strategies. I'm going to do flipping. I'm going to do buy and hold, all these things, right? They're going to do all those things all at once. The problem is, guys, you only have 100% of energy, right? So if you have 100% of energy and you split that energy up over 4 strategies, you're only giving each strategy 25%, right? And when you're just getting started, you need to give 100% to the one thing that you do to guarantee that you can get traction and have success, because by only giving 25%, you're not going to get anywhere, right? So that being said, again, what I want you all to do is focus on virtual wholesaling for the strategy you're going to focus on, and that's it. I tell my clients that I work with that I don't want you focusing on any other strategies for a minimum of 12 to 18 months, because by that point, you'll have gotten your first deal, you've gotten consistent at wholesaling, and you can then from there, if you want to start buying some stuff for yourself, you can, right? But you want to focus on wholesaling as your main strategy, and that's it, okay? So I know you guys have a lot of state-specific questions here, and we'll get to those definitely. But I'd like to dive into the content today, if that's okay with you guys. So,
you want me to hold all the questions until the end, Chris?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
and
okay.
then we'll hit those, because we're going to dive deep here, and we can go through and answer some questions at the end.
Okay.
All right. So first thing I want you guys to do, right? Because Dave and I are really big about actionable content for you guys. I don't just want to get out here and do a lot of fluff to where you guys can't do anything with what I've said. You're like, oh, that was kind of cool, but I didn't really learn anything. No, we want to give you guys actionable content you can take and put in place today and do deals, right? So the first thing that I want you guys to do, I want you to get this book right here, The One Thing. This is written by Gary Keller. He's the owner of Keller Williams, one of the largest real estate brokerages in the country. And the purpose behind this book right here, and this was one of the biggest game changers I had when I first got started wholesaling and I started to do more deals, was because I focused. Again, a lot of wholesalers are very spread thin, and you got to focus on one thing if you want to have a hope of even getting to your first deal, right? Talk to a lot of people that have been trying to get their first deal for like 2 years, 3 years, right? But I ask them, what have they done? Oh, I'm a gator lender. I'm a sub-2 guy. I'm a wholesaler. And like clockwork, they're not doing deals because they're focused on the wrong things, right? So this book right here, again, will help out with that. So go on Amazon, get it. I recommend getting the audiobook and the physical book because it's proven that if you read a book and listen to it at the same time, you retain 80% more information. So that's key, okay? So one of the core concepts behind that book, again, is focusing on one thing and following one path until success. All right. So we're going to talk about that today and how that plays into the 2024 marketing plan, because all great plans start out with focus and knowing what you're doing. So let's talk about a territory, because a lot of you guys on here are putting questions here about where should I start? This is one of the biggest questions I had when I first got started in wholesaling, and I wasn't even virtual at that time. I was like, okay, I'm in Tampa, Florida. There's a lot of zip codes in Tampa, Florida. Well, where in the heck should I start? I had no idea how to do it. Now I boiled it down to a simple process. We're going to break that out here in just a second. But and a lot of you guys who are thinking about going virtual, you're even thinking, man, this is even more intimidating because there's like 52 different states to choose from. How do I know where to go, right?
It's a that's a lot of territory.
It's a lot of territory, right? So I'm going to share with you guys a very simple 2-step process to picking the best territories across the country, anywhere in the country, all right? And you can do this with a free tool called Google. So you don't even need to buy any expensive CRMs and tools and stuff like that. You're going to be able to identify what this is using Google. So the first thing that we look for when we're identifying a territory, okay, is we look for the population in that area, okay? Population is very important because it tells us how much demand is going to be there. Are people actively moving into the area? Are enough people living there to where there's enough houses to wholesale, enough buyers to want to buy them, right? So the first thing that we look at is we look at the population. So Dave, do I have the ability to screen share here at all?
You should have the ability. Yeah. You should
okay,
be able
cool.
To, yeah. I will switch the screen share for us.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen because we're going to dive through this here. I'm a very visual person. I'm sure some of the other people here are visual as well, and I'd love to show you this. All right, so the first thing you're going to do, guys, is you're going to go to Google, okay? And let's see. Can you guys see my Google screen? Yeah, it looks like you can.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, all right, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say some of you guys are thinking about starting somewhere. Maybe someone, I'm big on engagement here, guys. Someone drop a comment here of somewhere they were thinking about starting and they want to see if that's a good market to start in. Go ahead and drop that comment, and then I'll use that in the example. But if nobody does that quick enough, then I'll just go ahead and come up with something off the cuff.
If nobody comes up with one, I'm gonna shout one.
Shoot it out. Let's do it.
All right, let's do Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo, Ohio. Okay, great. So what county is Toledo, Ohio?
Oh, good question. Let me find out real quick.
Let's see, Toledo, Ohio County. Lucas County, right?
Lucas County, there you go.
Cool. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to do Lucas County population, because we always start with the county, okay? So check this out. Number one, I look at this, the population looks like it's declining, which could be a sign of maybe not being the best market in the future. Who knows? We'll have to see how that goes. But the first thing I look at here, guys, is this right here, this population size. What I'm looking for here, guys, the minimum of 250,000 people. Okay, so I want a minimum of 250,000 people. And if I have 250,000 people, that is my first check mark saying this is a good territory to look into, right? Because what I've found is if there's a minimum of 250,000 people there, like I said, you're going to be wholesaling in an area that's typically a major metro or close to a major metro. You're not going to really have a problem getting enough deals there. And more than likely, you're not going to have a problem selling them too once you get them, which is really important because as a wholesaler, our income 100% depends on if we have a buyer for properties, right? So doesn't it make sense to go to areas where we know buyers are going to be, right? Makes sense. So this is the first check mark. So I look at this and I say, okay, this is pretty good here. I like this. Has the minimum of 250,000. I find that areas that have less than 250,000 people are typically like rural areas where you're not going to have a problem getting the seller to say yes, but you are going to have a problem getting that sold to a buyer and finding a buyer for that. So So the next step here we want to do is we're going to use a free tool called Google again. And so we got the first check box. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do Lucas County, Ohio, and we're going to say median home price. Now, this is really important, guys, and we're going to go to the Zillow link right here. This is important because the median home price, I want you to picture this on a scale. If you're looking at this, like, what the heck's median home price? If you picture homes on a timeline, you have the really cheap ones on the left, the $50,000 houses, and the ones on the right that are the multi-million-dollar houses. The median home price is the home price in the middle, the most common type of home being sold, and the one that's most frequently bought. So in wholesaling, we don't want unique. We want cookie cutter. We want to go after the homes that everybody wants to buy, right? The most common type of home. And what we look for here is we want this number to be a minimum of $200,000. What we've typically found is if an area has a median home price of less than $200,000, that usually means A, it's not really a major metro, and it's going to be an area that can be hard to potentially sell deals there because of the demand, number one. Number two, it could be a situation where we're not going to make very much money there because the difference between what a homeowner owns and the value of the houses is not that big. And so you could put the same effort in somewhere else that does meet our two criteria and you could make more money, right? So you're putting the same level of effort, but make more money, right? Not a bad trade-off. I'm sure most of you guys wouldn't mind that.
I will tell you, in Toledo, it's a bigger landlord buy and hold type of area versus a, like, let's buy it, fix it, and flip it for, $100,000 profit. So
absolutely,
right.
Absolutely. So there's areas in Ohio that I've especially seen like that. Like Cleveland is like that too. And so this does not meet our second checkbox. I want this to be a minimum of 200,000 because that's just where I've seen we've had the most success and our clients have had the most success in getting deals sold and making great money, right? So me personally, I would not focus here. If I was going to look at Ohio, I would probably focus on maybe Cincinnati. Okay, so let's take a look at Cincinnati, Ohio median home price. I forget which county Cincinnati's in. Whoops. Ohio. Yeah. See, this is a minimum of 223,000. So this is an area that I would definitely look at starting in, right? Because again, you're going to put in the same amount of effort, but you're going to make more money in Cincinnati than you will in Toledo, right? So it just makes sense to start an area where we're going to do that. Now, let's say, like Dave said, let's say you're a buy and hold person. You're going to want to buy a house to hold as a rental. Yeah, it may make sense just to buy there. But as far as wholesaling there, you really want this number here to be a minimum of 200,000. Okay, because that's going to ensure that you're going to make good money when you're there. Not going to have any problem getting deals bought and sold. And again, there's flippers there. People are buying properties, fixing them up, and reselling them. So those are the two things we look for. So we look for minimum of 250,000 population and a minimum of 200,000 median home price. So did you guys all see how to get that median home price and understand what that is? Pretty straightforward. Just drop a comment if we get it. We're good, and we'll keep going. So this is the first pillar right here of virtual wholesaling, guys. Is understanding where you're going to start. So if you're thinking, I have people come up to me, I've been thinking about starting in Charlotte, North Carolina. How would I identify if that's a good area? You would do this two-step process, right? Now, obviously, there's ways to dive deeper and find the hottest zip codes and all that stuff. But this right here, if this is the only system that you use, this two-step process, guys, you can identify the hottest real estate markets across the country and do very well there, right? And you're not going to get stuck thinking about, shoot, where's a good place to start? So that's the very first part there is picking a territory. That's number one, okay? The next part, this is another area where wholesalers usually get tripped up, right? Because wholesalers are like, okay, I'm going to do PPC. I'm going to do some mail. I'm going to do some AI auto poster or whatever. I'm going to do some texting, and I'm going to do some cold calling, and I'm going to do some wholesaling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that, I got exhausted just listening to that list of things that you're going to do, right? So the problem is, again, I want you to think about the core four. You have, let's say you have 100% of energy, you spread your energy over four things, 25%, 25%, 25%. It applies to marketing too, okay? And I find that a lot of people are saying, I struggle with leads, I struggle to get results in my marketing, right? But the problem is they're doing too many marketing channels at once. They're not doing any of them really well, and they don't have any idea of what it takes to get deals with any of those marketing channels. So they're kind of like shotgunning it or throwing baloney against the wall and seeing what sticks, right? And so when it comes to marketing, it's very important, guys, that you pick one marketing channel to start. One marketing channel. It's all you need. Guys, you can have a 7-figure business off of one marketing channel, okay? You can get to your first deal, most importantly, off of one marketing channel, right? And then it's only until you have that channel automated where someone else is doing it for you that you no longer have to worry about it. It's going consistently. Can you add a second channel? So that's going to make it really simple for you guys when you're thinking, what marketing should I do? What type of marketing, how many marketing channels should I have? How many leads? All that stuff. Guys, keep it simple. Do one. Now, a lot of people, they ask me, Chris, what's the best marketing channel, right? Let's talk about that for a second. So there's a lot of different ways you can get leads in wholesaling, right? A lot of different ways. And they all work for the most part if you work them, right? But there is one way that I found is the easiest way to get started. It's the lowest cost and gives you the highest return on your time, right? Sounds like a winning combo, right? And that is cold calling, okay? And cold calling, I love it because it's simple. You can pick up a phone and reach a seller here in the next 15 minutes if you wanted to. There is no other marketing channel that is faster to reach sellers than cold calling. Okay. So cold calling is great because you can target a specific type of seller, and then all you're doing is picking up the phone and calling them. You see a property that has code violations against it, or maybe there's someone facing foreclosure on Zillow that you find. You're literally just a phone call away, picking that phone up and seeing if they're open to a cash offer on the property. Someone says, what channel do I suggest? Cold calling. I highly recommend cold calling as the very first one. Another benefit of cold calling, guys, is if you can get good at cold calling, you will crush your results on every other marketing channel that you do. See, I talk to a lot of people that say, I started out with mail, I sent a bunch of mail and didn't get anything, right? So it could be there's a variety of reasons why that probably didn't work, right? But one of the biggest ones I'll tell you is people suck at sales. So just being blunt there, right? They're not good on the phone. They're not good with asking questions. And if you can't make money without spending money, then you shouldn't be spending money to make money. Does that all make sense, guys?
Yes.
Cool. So cold calling is by far, again, the best. And it's the one that you can get really good on the phone, get great at conversations. And another great thing about it too, is you can even outsource it. So once you've gotten good at it, you've gotten your first deal, okay? Then what you can do is you can have someone else make the calls for you. Now you've done it yourself, so you know the type of results you're supposed to get. You can monitor their success. You're digging deep on that one marketing channel, and you're setting yourself up for success, guys. You don't need 5 marketing channels to get a deal in wholesaling. You just need one, and all you got to do to get that one is pick up the phone. That's it, right? Sure, there's ways to make it faster. You can get a dialer and stuff like that, but guys, just keep it simple and pick up the phone and call sellers and do deals. That's it, right? Wholesaling comes down to leads, conversations, offers. Very simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Nothing more complicated than that, right? And the last thing you want to do, I have a lot of people ask me, Chris, what CRM do you use, right? Listen, when you're first getting started, don't worry about a CRM, right? Get the cheapest one you can find. Usually it's Podio. Make sure you don't spend anything between 15 or 20 bucks a month. You don't need $100, $150, $300 CRM with all these bells and whistles. They're going to waste your time because it's going to keep you comfortable. And if you're comfortable, you're not doing deals. So if you had to sit there and think to yourself, would I rather fiddle faddle around in my CRM and create some cool automations and AI and conversations with sellers, or would I rather pick up the phone and talk to a seller? Which one would you rather do? Just being honest here. Most people would rather fiddle faddle in their CRM, right? And
yeah, they do.
And they sit there and they put all this time even comparing them, but they don't spend time making calls. They wonder why they're not doing deals. It's very simple. I love this. Yvonne says, as much as it sucks, makes sense. We have to get good at talking, period. Got to do it. Guys, do you guys realize that we're in a society right now that encourages people not talking to other people? Right? Like, it's really funny. Everything is done by text, DMs, LOLs, right? And so it's really important, guys, that you focus on becoming great on the phone. Great communicators, great talking with people, because that will be the difference in you getting a deal versus someone else. That's it, right? I want to make money. That's the bottom line. I love it. That's what we're here for. It's what we're all about, right? All right, so cold calling. So let's talk about a couple of different things. So a lot of people ask me, well, Chris, where do you get your lists? How do I find what sellers to cold call, stuff like that? I love using PropStream. PropStream is an amazing service. You can go to getpropstreamnow.com and get a free trial, getpropstreamnow.com. And basically, you can go on there and you want to find sellers with motivation. Now, there's a lot of preset lists on there that they have that you can literally click. I want homeowners who are behind on their taxes. Homeowners are facing foreclosure. Homeowners with vacant houses. People that live out of state and they're facing foreclosure. You can just go on there. You can even get the phone number through there and pick up the phone and call them. If you want to do it the free way, you can go on Zillow and pull a list of pre-foreclosures. You can use a free site called truepeoplesearch.com. Get the phone number for the owner, pick it up and call them, guys. You can get deals for free doing it like that. Totally, right? So that's how we do it. We find sellers who have motivation, right? And then we pick up the phone, call them, and see if they consider a cash offer for their property. And that's it. That's all we do. But we're doing that in high volume every single day, right? So again, for sale by owner properties, great. A lot of people think, a lot of wholesalers think that you shouldn't go after those because, they're not going to be motivated. Not the case. You can go look up for sale by owner properties and you'll see as is, need to sell, moving out of the country or something like that, right? So you just got to look for the motivation. It's there. And you got to pick up the phone and be uncomfortable and make that call. All right. So far, guys, what we've done is we've talked about picking a territory. So we've talked about how to identify a territory. If you're just coming on the call now, you're going to want to watch the recording. We've covered a simple 2-step process. You can identify the best markets across the country. Step 2 is picking a marketing type, which is cold calling, right? That's the marketing channel that I recommend for everybody to start when they're first getting started because it's the fastest to sellers, okay? And again, it's something you can do yourself and then hand off to somebody else. The next thing.
When you get good at it. You get good at it. Don't hand it off to begin with. Get some deals done, then hand it off.
That is so key. I'm glad you mentioned that. I almost glazed over that. So like Dave said, you want to make sure you get a deal done, right? So you understand how it works and what to look for, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So that way, when you bring someone on, like you hire someone to do it for you and he asks you a question, you're not looking at him like a deer in headlights. You can actually answer because you've been in the trenches. You've done the uncomfortable. You come out on the other side and won, right? You got to the top of the mountain, you got your deal. So super, super important. So the third part to this, guys, and this is a really big mistake that a lot of wholesalers make. A lot of wholesalers, okay? A lot of wholesalers, I ask them, they come to me and they say, hey, I'm struggling to do deals. I'm like, okay, talk to me about your marketing talk to me about your marketing that you're doing right now, right? How many leads are you bringing in? Okay, I'm bringing in, I don't know, maybe about 20 or 30. I'm like, okay, that's a decent volume of leads coming in. So talk to me. How many leads it take you to get a contract, or how many leads it take you to get a deal, or how many phone calls it take you to get that lead? And they can't answer. They're like, and this is the reason why wholesalers can lose money in marketing is because they're not tracking their numbers. They don't know their numbers. So what you want to do, guys, I'm going to give you a very simple path. If you're going to start with cold calling, right? You want to take out a yellow pad and a piece of paper. If you're making calls one by one, and you want to write down every time you make a call, make a little dot every time you make a call. And you want to track how many calls it takes to reach a homeowner, and then how many calls you have to take to get a seller to say yes, and so on. And if you do that, right, you're going to know your numbers. And if you know your numbers, you put yourself in a position for success because you're not wondering where your next deal is coming from. If you know every 25 to 35 cold call leads it takes to get a contract or a seller to say yes, and you're at 20 leads, then cool. I got anywhere from 5 to 15 more, and I'm gonna get a deal. That's how powerful it is. A lot of wholesalers quit because they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but they can't see the light because they're not tracking their progress. So track your progress every single day when you sit down and find out what your numbers are. Because when you find out what your numbers are, how many calls it takes you to get a seller to say yes, then you know how many of those calls it takes to get another one, and then another one, and then another one, and you truly set yourself up for success. So the third point I'm sharing with you guys here: know your numbers and track your numbers every single day. This is a great question. I'm gonna hop in for Jeanette here. She says, how many calls should we make a day? So here's what I'm going to answer. So there are industry standards, right? For us, what we found is it takes 25 to 35 quality conversations with sellers to get a contract. What do I mean by a quality conversation? A seller told you their asking price. They've told you when they're looking to sell, so a timeline. They've told you why they're looking to sell their property, so their motivation. And you've learned a little bit about the condition of the property. It takes 25 to 35 of those to get one deal, right? From what we've found, okay? But let's say, for instance, for you, because you're just getting started, maybe it takes you 40, right? That's not a bad thing, but that's where it comes down to knowing your numbers, right? Yeah, so I'll repeat it. So it takes 25 to 35 quality conversations with sellers to get a contract, right? What do I mean by a quality conversation? This is what we consider a lead. Someone that has the 4 pillars of motivation. And I'm going to touch on this on another call, right? But basically what you're looking at is you're looking at the asking price. So you know what the seller's asking for the property, right? You know how soon they're looking to sell. What's the timeline, right? You know what the motivation is, why they want to sell a property. And lastly, you know the condition of the property. So if you have a seller call and you can get those 4 things, it only takes about 25 to 35 of those to get a contract, right? Now, how many calls it takes for you to get to that point and have those 4 pillars of motivation all just depends on you, how good you are on the phone, you know, and let's face it, everybody stinks when they first start. I did when I first started, right? But I did it over and over and over again, and I was committed to my growth and doing better. One of the things that Will Smith said way back in the day, before the slap and all the craziness, one of the things that he said
back when he was credible,
back when he was Cool Smith. No, I'm kidding. So one of the things that he said back in the day is someone asked him in an interview, they said, you know, how did you get so successful? And he says, you know, I focus on relentlessly beating on my craft day and night until I became successful. He's like, if you hop on a treadmill with me, he's like, you will die before I stop, right? He has this intense focus, gives me chills like thinking about that, intense focus and motivation, right? And that's what it takes to be successful in real estate, right? It takes a commitment. A lot of people get into this for the easy money. They're like, oh, I can push a button and money will fall from the sky. That's what the guru said, right? But guys, you need to be focusing on real estate as for the long term, for the long journey, right? Yes, you can make great money in wholesaling and you can do it fairly quickly. It's one of the best strategies to do that, if not the best strategy, but you got to have a long view. If you get a lot of people telling you no in the beginning, it's par for the course. Everybody's gone through it. I've gone through it. Dave's gone through it, you know, and you just got to keep going. So when it comes down to how much of some type of activity it takes to get a deal, I can give you benchmarks, but it really comes down to how bad do you want it? How much time are you going to put in, right? How much time do you have to put into it, right? That's what it all comes down to. Because I find that people come into this, you know, maybe they don't get a deal their first month and they're like, oh, it's too hard. Well, let me ask you a question. Which is harder, spending life working for somebody else till you're 65, 70 years old? I think the new age of retirement is 74 and a half or something crazy like that. Working in a cube your entire life, right? And then retiring with hardly anything to show for it, or putting in the effort now to get on the path to financial freedom and be able to live life on your terms. Which one is more painful to go through, right? So you have to go through some no's of sellers. So you have to deal with some rejection, right? Choose your hard. Boom. I love it. Exactly. So that's
it's so hard to make 20 grand on an assignment fee, right?
Yeah.
It's so rough. I don't want to learn to do it. I just want it to happen. But it's
they'll save 10 years. They'll try and save 10 years to make $20,000.
Exactly. Right. But you have to have everybody on here. You have to have, you all want this because you've all been at it a while, right? You've 100%. Got to have that burning desire in your gut to make this happen, and just say to yourself, I'm going to make cold calls. I'm going to, do whatever strategy until I do a deal. And I'm going to do it as hard as I can and as much as I can until I get the deal done. That's 100%. What you have to do. You have to commit to that. Nothing else matters. Just do it.
100%. 100%. I share with people that real estate and getting started in real estate and your success is 80 to 90% mindset and only 10 to 20% education.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, guys. So when you're binge watching on education like Netflix, thinking it's going to get you close to your first deal, guys, progress, not perfection, massive, imperfect, and immediate action. That's what's going to get you there. But you have to believe it. If you go into a call with a seller and you're like, I'm probably not going to get this because it's hard, and they're going to say no because I'm new and I don't know what I'm talking about, or at least that's what I think they're going to think I know what I'm talking about, right? And you have those types of thoughts. That's going to come through in what actually happens on that call with that seller, right? So every time you pick up the phone, you have to believe that you're going to get a conversation. You're going to get a yes out of that seller. And if a seller tells you no, your mentality needs to be cool. It's a numbers game. I got a no out of the way. And every no that I get out of the way, I'm that much closer to a yes. It's got to be, right? It plays out that way, right?
Yeah.
So
I heard long ago when you're doing phone calls, a insincere smile is better than a sincere frown.
100%.
Right? When you get on the phone, be upbeat, even if it's fake, right? I could do another one, one. And eventually, honestly, and Chris, I know this is going to be true for you. And it was for me, like in the mortgage business, because I had to make so many calls. After a while, it gets fun. After a while, it's so easy that it's just like next. And if somebody hangs up on you, you laugh. Sometimes I've called them back. Hey, the call dropped, and they get mad and hang up again. But you just get used to it, and it gets fun. So keep
100%.
Right?
Yeah, no, that's such great advice, because that's exactly what it is. And the reason it gets fun is because you're getting better. So you're putting in the time. So, and what you're going to realize, guys, over time is these conversations are not hard with sellers. Eventually, what you're going to see after you've been doing it as long as I have, and you'll even see this after your first probably 90 days of calling, is that every call is the same. A seller either says yes or they say no. They say yes for all the same reasons for the most part, and they say no for all the same reasons for the most part, right? And a big concern that some people have getting into cold calling, like, yeah, Chris, I know that you're telling me that cold calling is the best way to do it, but here, what if I'm new, and what if the seller can tell I don't know what I'm talking about, or what if I mess up, right? So a couple things on that. Number one, guys, you're never going to meet these people at the grocery store. You're not going to be sitting there picking out tomatoes and be like, oh, you're the person that that hung up on me and told me to go whatever myself, right?
Your voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. You're never going to talk to these people ever again. So that alone should flip a switch in your mind, being like, okay, so it doesn't matter what happens on the call, because I'm never going to see these people. I'm never going to meet them. I'm never going to talk to these people ever again, right? So that's number one. Number two, what I want you guys to share, just the fact that you've cracked open a book on wholesaling, or you're in wholesaling partners, you're learning stuff from Dave, you're on this live here. Guys, you know about 95% more about real estate than the sellers that you're talking to, just from something small like this, right? Because they are not real estate experts. And a lot of times you think you messed up and you're like, oh, shoot, I messed up. That call went terrible, blah, blah. Guess what? The seller didn't even know. And we tend to make things out to be a lot bigger in our minds than they actually are, right? So if you mess up, who cares? If, let's say, you're on a call and the seller picks up and you're like, oh, shoot, you hang up. You're like, you freak out and you hang up. It doesn't matter. Just pick up the phone and call the next one. It does not matter, guys. It does not matter. And the sooner that you can understand this and really internalize this and really believe it, that it doesn't matter, and just have that mentality of next, right? The sooner that you're going to see the success you truly desire. And piggybacking on something Dave said a second ago, guys, a smile. You want to know why the phrase "smile and dial" came out? It's because you can hear a smile through the phone. You legit can hear a smile through the phone, right? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to take out a mirror. Go ahead and get like a long mirror. You can buy one. I don't know. Just find it, right? So Walmart probably. Get a mirror and put it in your phone. Put a mirror in front of you while you're dialing, and make sure you have a smile on your phone, on your face while you're dialing, because if you have a smile, you have permission to dial. If you don't have a smile, hang up that phone, get into a better mood, do some jumping jacks, whatever. Focus on the positive, knowing that every no gets you that much closer to a yes, and make the call. Because I promise you, the call will go over much better with the sellers if you're smiling than if you're like, hey, do you want to sell your house? No? Okay, cool. You just proved me wrong. You just proved me right. I knew he was going to say no, right? And then you go on Facebook and you're like venting about how you knew sellers were going to tell you no.
You start bitching in all the Facebook groups.
Yeah, and then you get the Me Too's going, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that. Me too, man. That happened to me too. Cold calling doesn't work. Chris is a liar. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. So when it comes to cold calling on days, Monday through Friday is obviously the best, right? Saturday, if you're going to cold call, I wouldn't recommend calling any later than probably like 1:30, just because think about it. It's the weekend. People are exhausted from the week, and your reach rates go down after about 1:30 on Saturdays. And we find the best times to call people during the week, Monday through Friday, is between 1:30 and 7:30. Do not call later than 7:30, guys. You're going to get people, especially if you're calling somewhere like New York, you're going to get people chewing your heads off because that's when they're sitting down to have dinner, right?
Yeah, remember your time zones. Right?
Yeah, remember your time zones. Yeah, absolutely. So really important. So let's see here. Let's go to this next part. Okay, guys. So the next part here, so we've talked about picking a territory, okay? Picking a marketing channel, and all this is surrounded around focus, right? Focusing on one thing, okay? We've talked about tracking your numbers, knowing your numbers, writing that down, tracking your activity every single day, right? The fourth piece we're going to talk about is super exciting because no one really talks about this in wholesaling, and it's talking about growing your cash buyers list. Now, here's the thing. Cash buyers are the key to unlocking the profits you want to make in wholesaling, okay? Now, I have a method, okay, that I teach, and it's called the FYBF method, right? FYBF simply means find your buyer first, okay? So a lot of gurus and coaches, they'll tell you to go out there. If you find a good deal, it'll sell itself. The problem with that is that most newbies, when they first get started, they don't know what a good deal looks like. So how can it sell itself, right? So what you want to do is you want to go out and you want to find your buyers first. So you want to go to one of the best and easiest ways to do this is join all the local Facebook groups. And you decide this is the area I'm going to target. Go in and join all the local Facebook groups for that area. The county, the city, local real estate investor association groups. The abbreviation for that on Facebook is usually REIA, right? And you're just going to do a search for those groups. Join them all, right? And when you join those groups, I'm going to give you guys a hack. And I've actually, people have gotten upset with me for sharing this, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. If you go into the Facebook groups and you see wholesalers selling deals and you see people commenting, like, give an example. Someone would say, wholesale property, 123 Main Street, right? You're going to see people commenting on those saying, I'm a buyer, DM me, or here's my email address, send it to me, right? These are people that are typically one of three types of people. It's either a cash buyer, which is fantastic. Everybody loves that, right? The second type is a wholesaler, right? And the third type is a realtor. All three of these types of contacts have a place on your buyers list. Cash buyers can buy your deals. Wholesalers can help you put your deal in front of more people. And realtors can put you in touch with buyers that you would never come across in this lifetime. And realtor buyers, I love it. They can pay the most out of anybody, right? I have realtors on my list that bring buyers that are out of the country. I would never meet these buyers, and they pay top dollar for properties that none of my other buyers would even touch, right? So very, very important. So you just want to ask these people, hey, I saw your comment on this property here over 123 Main Street. Are you still actively buying in that area? Yes, I am. Great. So are you a wholesaler, cash buyer, or realtor? Oh, no, I'm a cash buyer. Great. Are you looking to buy more properties in this area? Yes, I am. Boom. Add them to your list. Get a free account like MailChimp or something like that. It'll let you add 500 contacts on there. Add them to start building your list, right? And then once you have properties, you can start sending it out to this list, right? And that's an easy way for you guys to build a cash buyer list. And if you focus on doing this and adding 5 of those types of contacts on your list a day, either a cash buyer, wholesaler, realtor, right? You can have a massive cash buyers list. You'll get, just do this for 60 minutes a day. You'll have 25 buyers a week, 100 buyers a month, 1,200 buyers a year. You can have a massive list from this one strategy, okay? So when you do it this way, using the FYBF method, you go out And you ask these buyers, hey, what types of properties you're looking for? Where are you looking to buy? They're going to tell you exactly what they want and where they're looking to buy. You just then go out and do marketing to find that, and you bring it to them. So when you do that, the whole process becomes much easier, right? You're not locking up a property on a hope and a prayer you can sell it. You know for a fact you can sell it because you asked your buyer, he told you, you get the deal, you bring it to him, and done, right? Wholesaling becomes so much easier when you find your buyer first. That's the only way that you should do it. So, so that is number 4, right? So that's number 4. And then the last one here is, guys, this is so important. All right. There's a book called, oh, shoot. It's a book by Darren Hardy. I was on a roll there. The Compound Effect. Okay. So there's a book by Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect. Okay. So the 5th one here is be consistent. All right, man. Oh, my man over there. Look at that. Man with a plan. Guys, get the Compound Effect, okay? Because what it talks about is the power of small activities repeated every single day consistently over time yields huge results, okay? A lot of wholesalers make a mistake. They first start wholesaling. They put 10 hours the first day. They're exhausted. The next day, they're like, I worked hard yesterday. I don't have to do it today. I'll just get in there tomorrow and do it. Guys, I would rather see you do 2 hours a day consistently every single day than I would see you do like 5 hours one day, 1 hour the next day, 6 hours the next day, 10 hours the next. That's not sustainable, right?
Equated to going to the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start going to the gym. You go to the first day, you're there 2 hours, you work out every muscle in your body. Next day, you can't move. Yeah. And you say, I'm not going to go back today. And then you don't ever go back, right? You're
100%.
Right. It's the same thing. Ease into it.
100%, guys. You know, like people who run marathons, they don't start running the marathon on the first day. The first, maybe they walk to the end of their street. Then they walk from their end of their street to the end of the next street, then the next street, the next street. And they build up that muscle, that hustle muscle, right? And here's the thing this book talks about, which is so important. It's talking about you don't stop when you got Big Mo, right? So what is Big Mo? Momentum, right? So many people get their first deal and then they go on vacation. Or so many people will almost get their deal. They're so close, and then they stop because they're like discouraged or whatever. Guys, you have momentum. You have sellers saying yes. You have leads. You're having conversations, which is just an achievement all in itself if you've gotten that far, right? So so you don't stop when you got Big Mo. You don't change what's working, right? And you commit to small activity every single day, and then gradually you build that up. So maybe you first start out in an hour a day. Then you build it up to 2 hours a day, then maybe 3 hours a day, and so on, guys. Build it up, and then eventually over time, you're going to have all those activities stacking on top of each other, compounding, and producing a big result for you guys. So be consistent. I had someone come up to me the other day. Actually, one of the most popular questions I get when people come to me for coaching is they're like, Chris, wholesaling is so saturated right now. It's like oversaturated, right? It's highly competitive, probably ridiculously competitive. Can you still make money with it? And I kind of chuckle inside when people ask me this question because wholesaling is not oversaturated. It's not overcompetitive, right? It's not. It's actually the total opposite of that because there are so few good wholesalers, right? Like so few wholesalers who do what they say they're going to do, who do business the right way, who know how to do things outside of just watching a YouTube video, and are professionals, right? Who actually take action every single day and are consistent. The majority of wholesalers are not consistent. They're running in 15 different directions. They don't really know what they're doing. And if it's you competing against that, I mean, it's game over, right?
Guys, I always equate it to realtors, okay?
Yeah.
You can go out your door and swing a stick and hit a realtor, right? and I used to get the stats on the realtors for Tampa Bay, and probably 70% of realtors don't make enough money to live off of. Okay. Yeah. It's the top 10 or 20% that are making the money, that are good at their profession. And it's the same in wholesaling. There's only a 100%. Select few that are crushing it, and the rest are in Facebook groups just talking about it.
Exactly. And this is the reason why that when you talk to people in Facebook groups and they're negative, ignore them, right? They're frustrated. They're not getting deals. And so they're going to put that paradigm onto you. Ignore it, guys. If you, and do you know the difference between the wholesalers who get results versus the ones that don't? They're like Dave said, like that top 20%, they're doing the things that I've shared with you today. They're being focused on a territory. They're picking one type of marketing they got really good at. It's cold calling. They know their numbers. They track them every day. They grew a cash buyers list, right? They found their buyers first. And lastly, they're consistent. They're doing these things every single day. And they look like they're crushing it because they are, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, let's go ahead and answer some questions here. This is good.
All right, we got scroll back up to the top.
Oh, Philomeno, he said they built McDonald's every day and they're still making money. My response, exactly.
All right, guys, if you got questions for Chris, shoot them in here right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop this one up here. Gordon wants to know if we ever discuss assigning the sales contract with the motivated seller.
No, you don't. Because here's the thing. What you want to do is you want to look at a purchase agreement. What does it say? It says seller and a buyer, right? You're the buyer. That's it. You don't need to go into wholesaling and all that stuff, because at the end of the day, just because you're not using your money to close on the deal, you're using somebody else's money, who cares? The deal's still getting closed.
Right. Yeah. And I know people are like, oh, I feel like I should tell them and all this stuff. What you do is confuse them.
You do.
Right? Because they don't understand assignable contracts and this and that. And just don't go down that path. If you want to say, in my opinion, if you want to say, hey, I used to say, it's possible that one of my partners will be at closing instead of me, but it's just somebody that I partner with, and leave it at that. Things are only an issue if you make them an issue.
That's it right there, guys. Yeah, things are only as big of an issue as you make it. 100%.
And everybody, when you start over explaining things and going into all this detail, you're making it an issue.
Yeah.
If you just, somebody else might, one of my partners might be there to close, blah, blah, and you build by it. Nobody ever even says anything about it.
Yeah.
But it's when you start dwelling on it, well, the thing is, you see, I'm, and people are like, what's with this guy? Right. And that's when they ghost you and you're like, why can't I get the seller back on the phone again? I don't understand what's going on,
Because you got to think, like, you guys go through like 3-day events, courses, coaches, just to even understand what wholesaling is, right? And you have to do all that just to figure it out. These sellers, they have no idea what you're talking about. Like, first time I did that, I explained to them, I'm like, yeah, so I'm not the buyer, I'm going to be bringing the buyer for the property. They're like, oh, like a realtor. And then I realized I wasn't licensed at that point. I'm like, no, not like a realtor. And you get in this really uncomfortable conversation with them. And trust me, guys, like do what Dave said does not make sense to explain it to them.
No, nope. Let's see. I'll pop this one up here.
Okay. So do you need to vet your buyers? Also, how can you know if the wholesaler is trustworthy and not steal your deal? Yeah, guys. So this is all protected through paperwork. So some of you guys last week were like, oh man, I thought we were going to talk about virtual wholesaling. So we actually talked about the paperwork last week that you could put in place with a wholesaler to prevent this from happening, right? But the main thing that you have to remember is when you're working with a wholesaler that's going to bring a buyer for your deal, okay, it's very important that you have paperwork in place with them. Now, here's the thing. A wholesaler can't steal your deal because you have a contract in place with the seller, and that's a legally binding contract. So in order for a contract to be canceled, you need 2 signatures, the seller's and yours. And if you don't agree to cancel, that contract isn't going anywhere. So all that other wholesaler is going to do, if he tried to do it, it's going to confuse and complicate things, but the seller's always going to come back to you because you have the legal right to purchase that property and he does not.
Right. And I always suggest to use your own title company.
Yep, 100%. Right. Biggest way to control the transaction. How do you overcome the anxiety of cold calling? What techniques or tips can you give? Okay, I have a good one here for you guys. So what I want you to do is remember, you're not going to bump into these people at the grocery store. We talked about that, right? So that should help out a little bit. And again, I want you to realize that 95% more than these sellers do about real estate just from being a part of even a live like this, right? If you've read a book, coaching, course, you immediately know more, right? So just know that. Sellers don't know that don't know that you mess up. If you messed up, right? It's never as bad as you think it is. And then what I want you to do, if you struggle between sitting down and actually making the call, I want you to put a launch plan in place. I want you to look at your phone, sit down, have everything you need to make calls. You have your list up in front of you. You have your phone ready to go. And I want you to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you hit 0, you got to pick up the phone, right? It works. Trust me. You got to have a launch plan. When you do that, it'll help you out and make you more comfortable talking to sellers.
And Tiffany, repetition, just do it and do it. And honestly, once you get down, you get 20 under the belt, it's easier. When you get 100 done, you're like, I don't even remember why I was scared to do this. It's scary. It really is, but just do it.
Yeah.
I've always told people, if you need a little test run and want to do a few, get on Craigslist, look up for sale by owners in a different state and call them. And
that's a great suggestion.
If it makes you feel better, right? Just call, and all you do is call them and say, hey, I saw your house advertised on Craigslist. I wanted just to ask you some questions about it. I'm looking for a rental property, or I'm looking for a house to flip. Can you just tell me about it? And just get comfortable talking, and then go to your list and start making calls.
100%.
Let's see. Did we answer this one? Do you need to vet buyers? We did that one, didn't we?
Yep. And guys, real quick, if you have a wholesale deal and someone's reaching out to you about it, a real quick way to vet them is, are you looking to buy this for yourself, or are you looking to bring a buyer? Really simple. And that'll tell you if it's a buyer or a wholesaler. Do I need a foreign license when buying from another state? Nope.
Yeah, I don't even know what a foreign license is.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You do not need it.
So LLC or website. So LLC will save you money on taxes. Again, I'm not an accountant or CPA, but it'll save you money on taxes, because if you're taking wholesale fees and you're in personal name, you're going to pay what's called capital gains, like a higher percentage. So I recommend having an LLC. You don't need a website. And I actually recommend that people do not have a website when they first get started in wholesale. You don't
Guys, don't spend money, right?
Yeah.
If you've got the money to throw around, you want to do it, right?
Yep.
It gives you credibility and all of that. But get a deal under your belt, right? Do a deal, do 2 deals, and then go, okay, I'm in this now. I'm in it, and then do a website and all that.
Yep.
Right.
Because if you if something happens in the first deal where you mess up or something like that, it's not a big deal, right? But you just don't want your website out there and formal company. That doesn't focus on making money to start, right? Revenue producing activities. Here's a filter for you guys. Before you sit down to do something in your wholesaling business or getting started wholesaling, ask yourself, can I make money today, tomorrow, or next week from what I'm about to do? And if the answer is no, will this make me money? Then don't do it, right? You only need to focus on revenue in the beginning. Can you tell us the story of your first deal and how you felt? I can give you the cliff notes on that, because we're close to the end here. So I'll just give you the quick summary of this, right? So my first deal, basically how I got it, it was a referral deal. I was working for Verizon Wireless, and a customer that came in, she said, hey, I have this property that I'm thinking about selling. I just got into wholesaling. And she said, would you, and I told her that I'm a buyer. I invest in real estate, because I went to this wholesaling class. I didn't tell her about the wholesaling class. But I told her that I invest in real estate. And make a long story short, I ended up putting the deal under contract. Looking back on it now, I could have made so much more money on this deal, knowing what I know now, right? But this property was in one of the most luxurious and richest parts of Tampa, called Davis Islands, right? And a lot of multi-million-dollar houses there, old money there, right? And I actually got a property under contract that was an outdated historical house. It had a bonus lot next to it. Had no idea how to handle it. And I put all the effort in the world. I showed the property like a realtor. I wore a suit to show it to buyers on my day off. And it was a mess. I told buyers that they could buy the property from me for one price, but then they had to pay me 30 grand to get access to it at that price. I had no idea what I was doing, right? Massive imperfect action. I confused the heck out of everybody. Nobody ended up buying it. I ended up dropping it, right? And but then I went on to my next deal, and I learned what not to do on the next deal. And then I got my very first deal. And that first deal I made $4,000 on, and that was all that I needed to know that it worked, right? So I actually dropped my first deal. Second deal, made $4 grand on it.
That's a funny first deal. All right, we got a couple more. I'm going to make you do real quick here.
Cool. No, I don't. I don't wholesale on market properties, and I don't recommend. I don't recommend newbies to be wholesaling on market properties either, because there's things that come into play here. There's realtors, they want higher earnest money deposits down. So you have to put down like, 500, 1,000. Sometimes they ask for a little bit more, maybe 1% of the purchase price. they're really strict on their terms and all that. I just don't like it. I like dealing off market, direct to seller, because sellers are not real estate experts and they're very flexible on the terms. I can do a 30-day inspection period with a seller off market. I can't do that with an on-market deal, right? So I can put down hardly anything. I can put down $10 or $100 for my deposit on a direct to seller deal, but I could not do that with a realtor. So focus on off market. You get better deals anyway. What are some quick tips to find the ARV estimate if it's not listed? Okay, so really simple, guys. What you want to do here to find the value of a property is you just want to find 3 properties similar to yours. Now I'm going to give you 4 points here, okay? 4 points. So the property needs to be the sold property you're using to value your property that needed to have been sold in the last year, okay? It needs to be within 20% of the square footage of your property, up and down. So 20% larger, 20% smaller. Okay, it's that entire range. It needs to be within a quarter mile to a half mile maximum, unless you're in a rural area, you can go out a mile, right? And then lastly, the property needs to be built within 10 years of the age of your property. So if your house is 1950, right, you want to compare properties that are built between 1940 and 1960, 10 years up, 10 years down. Find 3 properties like that. Quick way you could do it, you could just grab the average sale price, and then that could give you a rough estimate. But that's what I would recommend, just getting started. And so you can do that fairly easy and come up with a value. Is it better to double close, or is there a percent of cost sale? Don't double close, guys. I thought you needed to do this. I thought buyers cared about assignment fees and stuff like that. Don't double close, just assign. You don't need to. We assign 99% of our deals.
With the exception of if you're in a state that won't let you assign, then we can talk about double closing.
100%.
Okay. Yep. This one, and then I'm going to finish with one last one, and then we'll let you go.
Sure. So if you virtual wholesale in another state, how to put property to contract and show to a potential buyer. So guys, what I want you to do is watch the live that I did with David here. I want to say this was
I think two weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And I walked you through my 5 baby steps to wholesaling houses from home anywhere in the country. We went over this process, but I'll give you the quick and dirty of it. Basically, what you're doing is you're talking to a seller over the phone. You're agreeing to a purchase price. From there, you have boots on the ground in that area, which I showed you how to get that 2 weeks ago. And you are having them go out and take pictures of the property. They take pictures. They send it back to you through like a Dropbox or a Google Drive. And then from there, you have all the marketing you need to start selling the property. You can start selling the property, right? When you start to sell the property, you're going to have buyers who are going to want to access that property. So I recommend them to buy sight unseen. But if you're not there yet in your skills, right, to get them to do that, then what you can do is you can do a showing. So you can have a local boots on the ground, like a local realtor, oversee the showing for you and make sure that the seller doesn't talk to the buyer and so on. But that's how we do it in a nutshell. But again, watch that episode we did 2 weeks ago, because this breaks down the whole process, and I spend a good deal of time breaking down each step.
Guys, I'm right now putting the link for that video in the chat on YouTube. If you want to grab that link and watch it, that was full length.
Yeah.
Virtual wholesaling 101.
Yeah. And guys, find me on Facebook too. My username is Chris Logan, REI, CHRIS LOGAN REI. And by the way, guys, if any of you have listened to this call today and you're like, man, this is exactly what I want to do, man, I really want to get started with this. And I want to go above and beyond just like free education and watching here. What I'd recommend is go to the website. Thank you, Dave. Is go to the website right here, Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple, and apply for coaching, right? What I'll do is I read all the responses that come in. Make sure when you fill out the form, you're detailed in your responses, because I don't work with everybody. But if I like what you have to say, I'll consider bringing you on as a client, and I'll look forward to working with you and getting you the results that I'm getting and our clients are getting. And I'll just look forward to connecting with you in general.
Awesome. Guys, thank you everybody for coming today. Remember, if you're not a member of Wholesaling Partners, you can join at my.wholesalingpartners.com, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the group.
And by the way, guys, I'm also the Florida ambassador too. I'm the Florida ambassador.
So yeah, so if you're in Florida or you're virtual wholesaling in Florida, you can get into Chris's group and pick his brain there too.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you so much. Had a blast with your audience. This was an amazing call, and I'll look forward to connecting with you guys here soon.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Talk soon, guys. Bye.